What is needed in the next Halo game for it to be successful? That's the question everyone has, and it's a question I wanted to find the answer to. So I went and I spoke to 3 different creators in 3 very different parts of the Halo scene to get the best possible answer. This is a format that I want to try out here at LVT Halo, and I'm curious what you guys think of it. Let me know in the comments what you liked, what you didn't, and I want to try to have more of these nuanced conversations if it's possible. As for the 3 creators I chose, it was Lucid, Hidden Xperia, and MintBlitz, and for 3 very different reasons, right? Lucid's a professional player, someone that's going to be able to capture what it means to be within the competitive scene, whereas Hidden Xperia is very focused on the lore, the campaign, and the social element of Halo. I think MintBlitz is a perfect example of combining the both. He's a casual competitive player that's going to go out and hit the sickest clips you've ever seen, but really has his thumb on the heartbeat of what a casual Halo player wants and expects from the game. This is the conversation I had with them. Let me know what you guys think and enjoy the video.
The replayability aspect, even socially and competitively, of like, I'm putting time into the game and I want the game to reward me for that.
The number one thing isn't a specific feature, more so it's a broad approach to Halo's longest running and arguably most important feature, and that's for the campaign and the story to get the same post-launch treatment as the multiplayer. There is a huge, ginormous audience of fans out there who are already existing Halo fans or aren't already existing Halo fans, both parties, who would be drawn to Halo as a franchise if there was story and narrative and campaign stuff happening long term that was as important or got as much focus as the multiplayer seems to get.
The number one thing that I think is make or break is a finished product at launch. So even though it might take a lot longer to have every single feature that a Halo game may have, and game development is very complex and it takes a long time to get that out, I think it will really hurt the game if it doesn't launch feature complete.
What are the aspects that are needed for the game to be considered completed at launch? Like, what is that checklist? And what do you think was like the last Halo game that came out that like completed that checklist?
Halo 4, they had a campaign, they had a forge, they had multiplayer, they had theater, they had a file sharing system, and video games as a whole used to launch pretty much feature complete. They were forced to, because updating a game, like nowadays they can just push like a 1-2 gigabyte patch. They can just update the game very quickly, like a live game. Back in the day, like you could do maybe a 400 megabyte update max, like okay, maybe even a 12 megabyte update max. You couldn't update games often, and it had to be complete, or well, it would be dead on arrival. There was no excuses. In terms of actual like features, it needs to be like a full campaign, a full multiplayer, a full forge, theater, like all of those things, progression system, ranked playlists. You need a champion rank, for example.
Well, do you have like an example of maybe a game or some other franchise that you think does a good job at this that Halo could potentially emulate?
The most common example is the way that Destiny does it now. The entire game moves forward as the narrative moves forward. Like, nothing happens without the narrative moving it forward. And with how rich and deep Halo's universe is, and with how many fans there are who come to a Halo game at launch, play the campaign, and then dip until the next game comes out, that just seems like a perfect recipe for Halo, and I cannot believe it's not done it yet, to be honest.
Can you think of like an example of like in the past of something that you really, really liked that you'd like see implemented that's like gone away?
Well, it's funny because it's like Halo 5 didn't really have a lot of this, but towards the end and during the off time, they put in the commendation skins for the game, where like you got a certain amount of headshots with the pistol or whatever, and like put in some earnable skins. Just like that, and I was like thinking like, oh, this is actually so cool, like I'm glad they're doing this.
In Halo 5, like towards the end of the game cycle, what I was grinding for was like the champ rank. Was that a thing that ever like motivated you, like the champ rank back in Halo 5?
Yeah, absolutely. The champ rank grind being among the 200, the top 200, was like something that you just want to do, you want to be a part of, so it needs to be in the next Halo. I
would love, and I'm curious as to what your thoughts is if we did, you know, these perpetual updates, DLC style things, but then we branched off into different stories, right? So that way it's like we have Master Chief's story, but maybe there's some other people in the lore that we could be taking a look at in a much smaller scale because of it.
Funnily enough, Halo has kind of tried that before, and its attempt was awful, but it had the right idea, and that was Spartan Ops in Halo 4. Spartan Ops was incredibly boring and monotonous and incredibly uncompelling. However, it had the right idea. It was one of the many instances of modern Halo having the right idea with just awful execution.
At what point do you think Halo Infinite got to that full ship moment where it was like, yeah, okay, this is what we should have had at launch?
Season 5 had Forge, it had rotational playlists, it had basically every feature you could ask for a Halo game. And they reached seasonality. They even had the multiplayer story happening.
Do you think the next Halo game is complete without a battle royale?
A full-blown battle royale. I've never been a huge super duper fan of the genre because I would end up sitting out for long periods of time. I've actually changed my tune after I played Splitgate because they did like an arena take on the battle royale genre where it's like there's a bit of respawns. I know other battle royales have the respawn mechanic too. As for a Halo battle royale, and whether I've always said Halo is so diverse that if you are launching any game mode Halo-esque, it's going to excel because Halo is just so great at that. I think Halo fans would be willing to accept one, because there's a lot of heat about that, if every other feature was there for a multiplayer title. So if it was additive, not standalone, Halo fans specifically would be more accommodating to it. If it's the only experience and the arena stuff gets chucked to the wayside, everyone's like, what the hell, man? That's Halo's identity for 25 years you've just thrown down the toilet.
Do you think there's a way to bridge the matchmaking competitive fans with the campaign fans in Halo?
The main thing with Infinite was that we were supposed to get campaign DLC, which were like campaign expansions, which I was really excited for the prospect of. And I think at the end of the day, if they're fun and they're engaging, I think a lot of people from multiplayer who may be mostly multiplayer focused will bleed into it. If they see that it's getting new content, they're going to try it out at least. I just feel like if it was a reoccurring thing, like maybe every year Halo got a new like 6 to 7 level campaign that continued the story or continued a story, there'd at least be some interest on that side. But like trickling down from the actual like the pro scene, I think multiplayer people, even people that only really play Halo for multiplayer, would, again, at the very least be intrigued by the prospect of this constantly evolving, constantly progressing campaign.
I mean, is there anything else like before we head off?
It should be all-encompassing when it comes to challenges, when it comes to everything.
Anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
Halo Studios, if you're watching, please listen to what I said in this video and take some advice from me. I'm begging you, because campaign should not be left by the wayside for 6+ years until another game comes out, only for the cycle to repeat again.
Is there anything that we haven't touched on yet that you think we should touch on before we wrap up here?
Really, the key takeaway is don't release the game until it's ready, and don't release the game until you can basically have a content pipeline that's going to satisfy the audience of the modern gamer and the classic, I guess, the legacy audience you've built up over the last 25 years.